Привет, мои друзья! I have a very exciting video for you. We are down here at AKG Inc. with Zack Schaefer, and he is going to show us around some of the Russian and Soviet weapons he has at his disposal here. Zack, would you mind giving us a little intro? To you.
Don't put me on the spot.
Hey guys, I just want to jump in here before we start the video. I want to apologize to you real quick. We had the focus set to manual focus during this entire filming, so you'll see that we are blurry in the background. It's nice and crisp. I really do apologize for that. I didn't want to throw away all this footage because we don't have an opportunity to reshoot anytime soon. So I hope you forgive me on that. I've learned my lesson. It's something I'll be checking on every single time in the future. It's still a great video to listen to, and really it's not that bad to watch either, but I will be kicking myself because of that. So sorry about that. Please enjoy the video anyway.
So I'm the head museum curator of Brandon Herrera's collection, if you can call it that. There's all sorts of weird guns here, and I'm in charge of fixing them, keeping them running, and finding new ones for the collection and for his channel. And sometimes we get to do cool stuff like let other people come play with it so we can show you the stuff that hasn't been on his channel.
So with that, we'll dig into some of the more well-known Russian-Soviet weapons, and then we'll dig into some of the more niche ones.
So this is what's called a Type 1 AK. This would technically be similar to like an AK-47. This is the first AK that the Russians mass-produced. This one was made in 1949, which is particularly rare. They didn't make a whole lot of them in the first few years of production. There's a bunch of differences between this and what you would see today, like an AKM, but fundamentally it's the same gun that they produce all the way to modern day.
And is this one the one with the milled receiver?
So this is being the very first production AK, this is actually a stamped receiver. So this receiver here is just a box made out of sheet metal with everything important riveted in as additional pieces. And this gave the Soviets a lot of trouble in terms of mass production. If I remember right, the reject rate on these receiver stampings was something like 40%. So it was very difficult for them to get these mass-produced, which explains why there were so few of them for a long time. If you're familiar with the AKM or Type 3 or basically an AK in any video game, you can look at this thing and see all the shapes are a little different than what you're used to. It's got a steeper pistol grip angle. This trunnion piece up here is different. There's rivets where there normally aren't. The barrel is way thicker. The components are way bigger. This is basically just like, listen, this thing is big, it's overbuilt, it's heavy, but we know it will work. So make it like this and we'll figure out where we can cut weight later. That's exactly what they did.
So we did the Type 1. Type 3 would be next, but we don't have one. So this then is the AKM.
Yep, so this is like almost the ultimate refining of the AK-47 into making it cheaper, lighter, better in every way. This one in particular is Romanian, which is famous for the so-called dong foregrip here. But other than little details like that, it's functionally the same as a Russian one. Parts interchangeable. But yeah, they took that classic AK-47, they lightened it, they cheapened it, and they made millions and millions of them.
Love them.
Yeah, there's a good reason why these are basically in every corner of the world.
Right.
Yeah, you want to go AK-74?
Yep, let's do the 74.
Cool.
All right, so that was the AKM, which is a AK-47 variant. They all shoot 7.62 by 39. Now this is the AK-74, where they've transitioned over to the 5.45. And what else can you tell us?
Yeah, so the story goes that in Vietnam, the Soviets encountered the American 5.56 cartridge. And, you know, it being lighter and smaller than 7.62 by 39, you can carry a lot more of it. The gun recoils less, you have a higher chance of your soldiers shooting better with it, making better hits. They decided they wanted to try it. So they took the AKM and they rechambered it for 5.45, which is basically Soviet 5.56, more or less. There's a bunch of little differences that people like to hit on, like the 90-degree gas block. You have big old muzzle breakout here. But functionally, it's the same as an AKM. There's, you know, differences to accommodate the smaller cartridge, but it works the same way, you operate it the same way. And this one in particular is Bulgarian, and the Bulgarians and Russians had a very close relationship when it came to making Kalashnikov pattern rifles, and they would actually trade parts back and forth quite a bit. So there's a high chance several of the parts in this rifle are actually Russian in origin that the Bulgarians just finished out. It also has the classic plum furniture. It's this kind of purpley plastic. The story I was told is that the Russian polymers in the 70s and 80s weren't great when it came to adding the plastic dye to it. It made it more brittle. And they figured out if you just leave it this natural purplish color, it's a little stronger. So it's cool having Soviet guns that have bakelite, nice neon orange, and then purple.
Yep.
Just weird gun colors.
Yeah, between the bakelite, the plum, and the wood, you can get a lot of different aesthetics with all these.
Yeah.
So after this, what would be the next progression, I suppose, we should look at?
We can hit the AK-100 real quick.
Sure.
We have a 102.
Okay. All right, so the 102.
Yeah, so after the AK-74, the Russians made what's called the AK-100 series, so like 101, 102, 103, etc. This one is a 102, which is a 12.5-inch barrel chambered in 5.56. This one is a little ugly right now because we're just finished converting it to a machine gun, so it needs to get repainted and made pretty. But Russia made a bunch of these for export to various countries. I think the 102 comes up in like Venezuela and weird places like that. But again, similar to AKM-74, AK-74 to 100 series is more or less the same gun still, just a bunch of little tweaks to specific parts in manufacturing.
And on the stock on the other side that you guys can't see, is that notch just for the side folder?
Yeah, so it's got this pocket here. This particular rifle doesn't have the side optics rail on it right now, but normally that pocket is there to go around the side optics rail when it folds.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I guess that's good to mention. It's got a folding stock.
Yes. Yeah, with the 74 series, you have a lot of variants like the most popular, probably AKS-74U, where I think that is adding the side folder, shorter barrel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what else?
Different sights, little shorter handguards.
Yep.
It's like a PDW.
Yep.
So
lots of different variants going down the tree from there, but these are kind of the top level of those.
Yeah, some of the more notable, cooler kind of video game favorite guns.
So this is one of the variants of the AK-74. This is the AKS-74U.
These things, long story short, in Afghanistan, these things got the nickname the Krink or the Krinkov. Nobody's 100% sure where that name came from, but that's what they're called now. It's same thing as an AK-74 from like here to here, and then they cut the front down as short as possible. They moved the sights a little bit. It's got a folding stock like some AK-74s have, but chambered in 5.45. It's a cool little PDW.
Yeah, and the AKS-74U is extremely popular because of games like Call of Duty and everything. So they're definitely fan favorites.
Yeah, up until very recently, these were extremely hard to get pretty much anywhere in the world, and they were kind of like a status symbol. So it became iconic. Pictures of like Osama bin Laden hanging out with one, and Soviet helicopter pilots and stuff. So.
Yep. And Zack has spent a lot of time reverse engineering these things and making reproduction part kits and everything like that. And if you're familiar with my channel, you've probably seen mine. That is what mine's built off of. And Zack's continuing to crunch out new products such as this dot plate and everything else for the Krink continually.
Yeah, I'm painfully familiar.
All right, so we looked at the 47 and 74 and then the 74 variants. Now we're kind of moving back up in size with the RPK.
Yeah, so this was the replacement for the RPD. The Soviets got tired of belt-fed machine guns, decided they wanted box magazine fed. So this has a 75-round drum, but it takes standard AK magazines as well. They were issued with 40-round mags too. But they basically just took an AK and they made everything heavier, beefier, longer barrel, and they gave it a bipod. And again, just like Krink to 74 to AKM and all that, it's more or less the same gun. Some parts interchange, some part don't, but it's basically the same gun.
Yeah. Nothing much more to add on there. There's not too much diversity, like you said. So sweet.
Okay, so this is the RPD. This is the Soviet squad automatic weapon from like World War II, just after World War II, up until like the 60s, more or less. Shoots 7.62 by 39, just like the AK. It's belt fed. It's actually derived from the DPM and DP28, which I'm sure we'll take a look at. It's open bolt, belt fed machine gun, nothing super crazy going on. They have very iconic look to them, especially with these bizarre shaped handguards. And
now on the RPD, they were all 7.62 by 39, but then on the RPK that we just looked at, they made both them in 7.62 and 5.45, right?
Yes, actually, we do have an RPK 74 here, which we should look at too, because it's very uncommon in the U.S.
There we go. All right, so this is the RPK 74.
RPK 74M. It's got the folding stock.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So, same thing.
Yeah, basically just the same, smaller parts.
Yeah, a bunch of little minor differences. This one does have a folding stock, and something that's not commonly mentioned is on these early ones, you actually need a tool to fold the stock. Unlike the AK, you got to shove a little thing in there and hit a little latch to fold it. So the idea was paratroopers would fold it before they get in the plane, and then when you're on the ground, you can unfold it without a tool. But if you have to fold it again, it's a pain. So I guess you're never really folding a gun in a hurry. So.
And then what's the material for the furniture on these?
It's black plastic. This is factory furniture. I guess eventually the Russians figured out how to make plastic that wasn't purple or orange. But,
It's too bad. The purple and the orange are iconic.
They do go hard. Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen RPK 74M, and then the RPD.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Dragunov, I guess. Yeah.
Let's go look at the Dragunovs.
All right.
Okay, so now we're transitioning over to the Dragunov type rifles. Take it away.
Cool. So this is what's called the Tiger. It's a civilian imported Dragunov here in the United States. It's essentially the same as a military Dragunov, except the barrel is about 4 inches shorter. It doesn't have a flash hider. Other than that, it's about the same thing. I said earlier it was controversial to call this an AK variant, but it absolutely is derived from the AK. The bolt carrier group shares a lot of autistic features with the AK, and unmistakable lineage there. So this is fairly common in the United States, but the SVD-S is Russia's current sniper rifle Dragunov. The SVD-S is Russia's current DMR, which is that one.
So that's what we have here.
Yep, which this has the same short barrel as the Tiger. Russia just decided they didn't need the full-length old school barrel. And the only appreciable difference is that this one has a side folding stock for easier carrying, I guess. But yeah, this is Russia's current DMR service weapon. And this one, there's maybe 10 or so of these in the United States.
And both of these run off of 7.62 by 54R,
Yeah.
which is a significantly larger round than the 7.62 by 39 that the AKs ran.
Yeah.
Which that's the same round as the Mosin and DP and some other Soviet rifles, of course.
Yeah. Classic cartridge invented in like 1891 that's still in use today.
All right, so do we have a more typical SVD?
No, Brandon's got that.
Oh.
It's not Russian though. It's a Chinese one.
Oh, okay, that was that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can cope.
Very well. So then what's next?
Well, you mentioned the DP.
Oh yeah,
Look at that.
let's go get the DP.
Go backwards in time.
Yes. So yeah, we're jumping over the time frames a little bit here, but this is the DPM or is this
DPM.
DPM? So I have I believe mine's a DP27 back home, but I always joke that this was called the dinner plate because of the giant circular mag up top.
Oh yeah, unmistakable. Yeah, so this is, like you said, this is the M version, which it's got a pistol grip and a more modern style stock arrangement. The DP27 and 28, from like there forward, they're basically the same gun, but they have a more traditional sloping rifle stock. Yeah, 7.62 by 54R. This is the light machine gun all throughout World War II and after. Some countries used them up to like the 70s and 80s with a belt-fed add-on, where you just take the mag out and you clip this thing in there that runs the same belt as the PKM. It's like a PKM at home. That's called the RP46. And this thing's great, man. These things don't get a lot of attention, but they shoot really, really nicely. Very effective weapon.
And they're super heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember playing PUBG back in the day, and the DPM's one of the guns in there, and you know, I'd be running everywhere with it, and then I got my hands on a real one, and I was like, oh, there's no running around like that with these.
Yeah, the weight definitely contributes to them shooting really softly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Sweet. So now we can jump through the times again and go back in on the by 54R time frame, and let's go look at a Mosin Nagant.
Cool.
So now we have a Mosin Nagant here, and we were just chatting. This was the first rifle to be used with the 7.62 by 54R, because this rifle, when they were putting it under construction. It was to replace the Brandon rifle, which used a completely different cartridge. And of course, then with the by 54R, it has just stayed in service up until today.
Yeah, so this one is a sniper rifle, as you can see by the scope. It's called a PU model, after the model of the scope. There are a lot of fake Mosin PUs in the US because everyone wants the cool guy version. We got really lucky and found this one in a local gun store. We spent like probably 3 or 4 hours authenticating it. This is a legitimate wartime Mosin PU that was made in 1944.
That is awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
And then one other interesting thing with the PU model is the bent bolt handle there, or
Yeah.
bolt handle, is that the correct term?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the bent bolt handle, whereas the non-PU versions just had the straight handle there.
Yeah, they had to bend the handle to make it not hit the scope when you open it up. So, yeah, very cool. This one was refurbished at some point. It had a very hard life, but it is an authentic Soviet sniper rifle, which is not something you get to play with every day.
One thing I don't see a lot of people show in videos is the safety on these. Can we show off that real quick?
Yeah, if you can see that. The safety is this big knob back here. You pull it against a strong spring and you rotate it. You kind of hook it around the notch there, and when you rotate it, it locks the bolt shut.
I always thought that was a very unique way to handle that.
Yeah, it locks the bolt shut and it disables the trigger. Yeah. So you absolutely know you're on safe.
All right, so that's the Mosin. What's next?
We go to handguns, maybe?
Yeah, I suppose that kind of handles the rifle side of things, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so now on to the pistol side of things. We only have 2 examples here, but the first one is the Tokarev. This specific one is a Yugoslav Tokarev.
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
So this was basically a Soviet knockoff of the 1911. Mechanically, it's very similar to the 1911, with the exception of they removed the safety. So you see a lot of semi-auto import ones have a safety added back on to be legal with our ridiculous import laws. But the original Soviet ones have no safety whatsoever, and it was a pretty common story to hear of negligent discharges with people that had them. But anyways, it's chambered in 7.62 Tokarev, which is a pretty damn spicy little cartridge. It's very loud. They're super fun to shoot. But yeah, these things, they made millions and millions of them. They saw service all the way through to Vietnam, probably later.
Yeah, they're probably still showing up in Ukraine now.
Yeah, I'm sure some police officer has to carry one and hates it. But
Yep. Going back on the round, it's kind of a shame that not more weapons used the Tokarev round. You know, there was a lot of experimental things that Tokarev used, and then I forget who else experimented heavily with those. But yeah, it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, like the PPS-43, PPSH-41 are chambered in 7.62 Tokarev, which is a very good submachine gun cartridge. It's a good bit hotter than 9mm. Depending on the loading, it can be pretty good at terminal ballistics too. So it just never really caught on outside of the Soviet Union.
Yeah. So then they transitioned from the Tokarev over to the Makarov.
Yeah, the PM. So this is just a little direct blowback handgun. It's chambered in 9mm Makarov, which is essentially the same as 9mm Parabellum that you would be familiar with. That's a little shorter, it's a little weaker.
1 mil off, right?
Yeah. The bullet diameter is a little different. But anyways, it's like this is basically at the upper limit of what's safe for a direct blowback handgun to function in terms of like how high pressure it is. They're very good little handguns, extremely reliable. They're very accurate because they have a fixed barrel. The slide moves, but the barrel doesn't. So they're super easy to shoot well. And this one in particular is pretty cool. This is an Iraq War bringback that we managed to get our hands on. It's Russian produced from, what is that, 1975? So this thing probably got lost in the Soviet-Afghan War and found its way back to the U.S. from someone who was over there during various U.S. expeditions.
Yeah. What a cool piece.
Very cool. Yeah, you don't see these very often. Bulgarian-produced Makarovs are pretty common in the U.S., but Russian military ones are extremely rare.
Yep. And then one other piece that we're not, or don't have one on hand right now is the Nagant revolver, which was the earlier predecessor to the Tokarev. It was actually, like I said, a revolver, and that was in the 7.62 by, what was it? 28?
28, something.
Yeah, and it's a really weird looking round. If you watch my channel a lot, you'll know that that thing is quite strange because the projectile is actually seated within the cartridge, so it's just all sorts of funky. But we don't have one of those to show off. But besides those three, that kind of covers the available side of Russian handguns in the U.S. Obviously, there's other cool ones that don't make its way into the United States that we'd love to have. But
Yeah.
so we realized we forgot one earlier in the sniper battle rifle section. So this is the SVT-40, which is a Tokarev-produced gun as well.
Yep. Yeah, so designed by the same guy. I forget his first name, but his last name's Tokarev.
Fedor.
Thank you. It's chambered in 7.62 by 54R, semi-automatic, box magazine fed, and these things also shoot very, very nicely. I really enjoy these. And this one was made by Tula in 1941.
Yeah, they show up on the market every now and again. I've had my eye on a couple, but whenever I see one, they're really beat to crap.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of them had a very hard life, and this one did too. It's a refurb, so at least one refurb. I'm not sure if it had more than one.
Yep.
But
And what round does this use?
54R.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. So another 54R family.
Yep.
All right. So with that, let's go over to the submachine guns.
All right.
All right. So now we have the PPS-43. Take it away.
Cool. So this is the kind of successor to the PPS-H41, even though they were both used at the same time. This one was designed a few years after to answer the Soviet need for more submachine guns in World War II. The PPS-H41 may look pretty crude on the outside, and it kind of is, but the Soviets saw opportunity to make it simpler and lighter and faster to manufacture, and that's what this is. So despite looking kind of like a PPS-H and shooting the same 7.62 Tokarev cartridge, they have 0 parts compatibility, 0 magazine compatibility, and they were issued at the same time as each other. So I'm sure that wasn't confusing at all. Yeah, but these are another classic Soviet submachine gun. Saw service all around the world. They still do by police departments in former Soviet countries. And this one is one of my favorite submachine guns to shoot. They're pretty controllable, pretty effective, especially because it's got a giant muzzle brake on it.
And these are open bolt, right?
Yeah, so this is an open bolt submachine gun. So when you charge the bolt, it stays to the rear. Double check we're clear. And when you pull the trigger, the bolt slams forward and fires the cartridge. So extremely simple operating mechanism, minimal amount of parts.
And you get a lot of these in the United States that are semi-converted, and then that obviously takes away the open bolt functionality. You lose the stock most of the time unless you register it. But Pioneer Arms had a ton of these made, so they're not uncommon to see, but having an actual machine gun from, is this Russian-made one?
This one is Polish.
Polish.
Yeah.
Still very cool piece to Brandon's collection here.
Yeah, something you don't see a lot of people mention is the stock is really weird to fold. The butt plate does a 180, and then you hit the button up here. If I can get it, there we go. And it's actually a top folding stock. It sits right over the sights, so you can still see the sights if you care to one-hand it for whatever reason. Yeah.
That's how I have to live with mine.
Yeah.
We need to fix that.
Yep.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, once again, what next do we have?
So this is a CZ SA-26. It is a Czech submachine gun that was made in, I believe, 1946. And like everything the Czechs did with small arms, they had to be different than the Russians. And this is no exception. Very strange little looking gun. It has an operating mechanism where it's direct blowback, but the bolt telescopes over the barrel. So the barrel is actually like back here and the bolt kind of sticks over it, which is a mechanism that was very famously used in the Uzi submachine gun after this one. This is chambered in 7.62 Tokarev, like most Soviet submachine guns. These don't get a whole lot of love, probably because they're pretty rare in the U.S. to find one that's actually built. But yeah, another open bolt Soviet submachine gun. The last little interesting feature, it's got this kind of rail right here, and what you do is you take a stripper clip of ammo with the bullets pointing up, you set it in that rail, and you take your magazine, you go like that, and it's a quick way to load stripper clips into a magazine.
Now, surely that doesn't hold the whole capacity, right?
It holds like 10 rounds or something.
Could you do it twice with some bullets already in there?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, just a lot faster than stripping it out of the stripper clip, because these don't have a spoon that you would normally see.
Yep.
So anyways.
And how does the stock work?
Yeah, so the stock's a bit unusual. You pull on the back, and then it folds to the left, and this butt pad, you see that? This butt pad swivels up, and there's a little hook right here on the gun. You go like that, and it hooks on the front, which acts as a foregrip.
That's very cool.
Very unique.
Yeah.
Not necessarily great. I don't like my fingers.
Yeah, it's really close to the end there.
I don't like being that close, but I'm sure it works.
Yep. You put some gloves on, it'll be fine.
Yep. Just man up.
That's right.
Yep. I guess the last thing to mention is these have what's called a progressive trigger. So if you pull the trigger a little bit, it makes one click and you get semi-auto. And if you pull the trigger all the way, it goes full auto. It's kind of a cool little gimmick.
I wonder how many people have accidentally just blasted the mag through because of that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it happens, yeah.
All right, now we're stepping back a little bit, back to the AK platform a little bit. What is this?
So, in the same vein of the Czechs being weird and not wanting to do whatever the Soviets wanted them to do, they were forced to adopt a 7.62x39 cartridge, but they didn't want to have the AK because they wanted to be different. So they made this, the VZ58. You see, it kind of looks like an AK. It's got a mag catch similar to an AK. It's got the right side charging handle like an AK. It's got sights like an AK. But the operating mechanism is different. It's more similar to an SKS internally. You can see when it cycles, the whole top of the gun is open, similar to an SKS. It does have a last round bolt hold open, unlike an AK, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's a weird little gun. Everything on it has to be different, including every gun ever. The bayonet comes on from the front, but not on the VZ58. It comes on from the back. If I can get it right. There we go.
There we go.
So they just had to be backwards on everything.
And it's still 7.62x39?
Yep. Aluminum magazines instead of steel. And, you know, it sounds like I'm dogging on the gun, but it's really not a bad rifle at all. They're very nice to shoot. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, we also forgot the SKS.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Yeah, you can tell we're doing this without a script here because we're forgetting some of the most basic and famous rifles here. So, the SKS.
Yep. So this is chambered in 7.62x39, just like the AK. And at the time it was adopted, the Russians had this idea that the SKS would be the rifle, the AK would be the submachine gun, and the RPD would be the light machine gun. And as we saw, because we're going backwards, they kind of just made them all AK eventually. But they used these for probably 10 or 15 years mainly. This one in particular is Chinese, but it is functionally and almost visually the same as a Russian one. China and Russia were good friends back in the day.
And even if you're not good friends with them, most of your stuff will look a lot like theirs after they see it.
Yep, so it has the open top, like the VZ58 or other way around. It's got a 10-round internal box magazine. You open it up and feed stripper clips through the top, or you can single load it if you lose your stripper clips. But it has very much the same sights as the AK or the Mosin or pretty much any Soviet rifle. It's got an integrated folding bayonet, which is pretty cool.
Yours is so easy to do. Mine, I've got a yank on that thing.
Yeah, this thing is very well broken in.
Yeah. And then, I don't know if we mentioned it or not, I've already forgot. It is 7.62x39.
Yep.
And then, I know a couple other rifles kind of use the same SKS style design, right? Basically just scaling them up.
Yeah, so that VZ58 uses a similar SKS design, but probably the most famous one would be the PTRS-41, which actually came before this guy. So technically speaking...
this is based on the PTRS.
This is a scaled down PTRS.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go look at the PTRS.
All right.
All right, so now we have by far the largest gun of the day. We're going to still have one more quite large one, but it's not going to be this big. This is the PTRS.
Yep, so it's the thing that came before the SKS. You can see it looks very similar. It feeds from an internal magazine from N-block clips. If you've ever seen an M1 Garand, put that thing in there just like an M1 Garand. It fires 14.5 by, I want to say 114.
Yeah.
It's a big old thing, and this thing's meant for killing tanks. Yeah.
It's over 7 feet long, right?
Yeah, it's like 70 pounds or something.
Yeah. I know I've got a picture somewhere back in the day of me standing next to it. I'm not tall by any means, but this will tower over anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, so back in the day in World War II, it was supposed to be transported with the barrel out. One guy would carry the barrel, the other guy would carry the receiver group. But from pictures and from what I was reading, that often didn't happen because you didn't know when you would encounter enemy armor, and you didn't want to have to put your gun together to shoot. So,
And in all honesty, if you team lift this thing between two guys, it's probably a whole lot more mobile, and you can react just as quick.
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures of two dudes walking with this thing on their shoulders like a log. Yeah. Crazy gun.
Yeah, this thing is awesome.
Yeah, there's like a wives' tale that I haven't been able to authenticate that this thing was designed in like 1 month of sleepless nights while some city was under siege. Whether that's the case or not, they are apparently pretty effective. You do still see these in Ukraine today. They can defeat armor on like a BMP or a BTR, stuff like that. It's useless against tanks, to my understanding, but
Today's tanks.
Today's tanks, I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
But it can go through light armor
Sure.
at very long distance.
You got level 4 plates? You want to talk about the ammo?
Yeah, so
So you said it was what?
I think it's World War II armor-piercing incendiary tracer.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, can you run it?
Yes and no. So, how do I put this? Several of these guns in the United States have blown up recently. Nobody is entirely sure why. We suspect that the ammo is degrading, which is something you see in other calibers, that over just decades and decades, the powder gets spicier and spicier with age until it reaches a dangerous level. And we think that's what's going on, but we've had this gun for like 2 years and haven't fired it because we're terrified of blowing it up.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
So, if anyone can solve the PTRS ammo mystery, you're going to make one very happy Zack one day.
Yeah. A Zack with an intact neck, hopefully.
Don't need any thumbs in the neck.
Yeah, hopefully not.
All right. I think we just have one last one to look at, right?
The special one.
The special one. The greatest Russian gun ever made. Russian in spirit.
Citation needed.
A Russian has touched it, has worked on it ever so slightly. Therefore, it's at least part Russian.
There you go. Yep. So, the AK-50. So, if you're not familiar, about 10 years ago, my boss and friend Brandon decided to make an AK and 50 BMG. And as the project progressed, he decided he needed some help on it. So he put out a request for interns to come help. Me and my comrade here got picked out of the interns to come help on the AK-50, and here we are a few years later, AK-50.
Yep. What a bizarre journey it's been.
For real.
But yeah, this thing is really cool. So it's why is it AK?
It may not look super AK on the outside, but the internals, the bolt carrier group, is basically just a giant AK. The gas piston's giant AK. The trigger group is actually the same as a normal AK, so you can take any gamer trigger group you want, put it in there, and it'll work. It takes standard AK pistol grips, and it's about as close to an AK as you can get with something that's 50 BMG.
Yep, just the externals have obviously been adapted quite a bit, so I see comments all the time. It's not 50. It looks more like a Barrett. It's like, yeah, that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
But at its heart, it's a 50, or it's an AK. But on the externals, of course, you want to make it look a little bit more modern. Has to be compatible with the 50.
Yeah. One of the things people mention is like, oh, it doesn't have like a classic AK buttstock. What's going on? Well, the problem is the cartridge is bigger, so the gun's got to be bigger, but human beings are the same size. So if you put a wood buttstock here, the bolt carrier group has to go to about there. If you put a wood buttstock on here, it's going to be this tiny little stubby thing. And you can't just put a long one on there because your arm can't reach the trigger group then. So there's sacrifices that have to be made to make it a functional gun and not just like a deviant art sketch.
It just sounds like we need to make one of these bullpup.
Yeah. Yeah, make it look like an SVU.
Yeah. That is awesome. And so with this, there's been many revisions of it. I don't know how many revisions.
Yeah.
4 or 5 actually built up and functioning.
Yeah.
But of those, this has taken by far the most rounds. What's the round count on this one?
We're sitting at roughly 500 rounds now. It's still trucking along pretty well. We're always making upgrades and improvements to it because it is a prototype. We're not selling these things, so we can play with it all we want and tweak it and make it better. But yeah, roughly 500 rounds. It's doing all right. No parts breakage, just stuff wearing out. Like we just made a new recoil spring for it. And just kind of learning as we go, figuring out some areas are overbuilt, some areas are underbuilt, and trying to balance it out before we make more of them.
So just like at the very beginning of this video where we talked about the Type 1 versus the AKM, this is going to be one day the Type 1 of the AK-50, and there's going to be a much more slimmed down, efficient version one day.
That's the hope. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement, and I'm excited to play with it more.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think that's probably all we have in store for this video. I don't want to spend a ton of time going into the finer details. Maybe in some later video I would love to go through some of these more guns and talk about the finer details of them. But that's not what we're doing today. So I just want to thank Zack for letting me in here and showing me all the fun toys. I want to thank Brandon Herrera, of course, since all these are his things that he's letting us poke around on. And that's all I've got.
All right, cool.
Thank you very much. Until next video, Das Vidania.